Hampi was the crown jewel and the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire. One of India's richest and most powerful kingdoms that reigned supreme from the 14th to the 16th century AD. In fact, Hampi was an unparalleled example of Indian history, art, and architecture. On the other hand, every stone in Hampi is silent witness to the conspiracy, deceit, greed, and the bloodshed that the city witnessed in its dying days. An incident that will be remembered as one of the most shameful examples of atrocity and vandalism in human history. Let's explore. In January 1565, Talikota, a city located 80 kilometers away from Bijapur in northern Karnataka, witnessed a fateful battle between the vast armies of King Raya of the Vijayanagara Empire and the Sultans of Deccan. The Battle of Talikota was a shameful example of backstabbing and barefaced treachery that played a big role in shaping its outcome. Prior to this war, Vijayanagara was ruled by Raya. Despite being surrounded by 5 enemy Bahmani kingdoms, he not only kept Vijayanagara safe, but also expanded its borders. The Bahmani Sultanate was initially a large Islamic kingdom, which later split into 5 states: Golconda, Bijapur, Bidar, Berar, and Ahmednagar. Together, they were known as the Deccan Sultanates. The sultans eventually realized they had a common foe in Raya. So they united against him, and the binding force was their common hatred and envy of South India's richest kingdom, Vijayanagara. The stage was now set. An allied army of Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Bidar, and Golconda began marching towards Vijayanagara. This mighty force gathered at Talikota, about 200 kilometers north of the city. Seeing such a powerful army, the joint forces of Nizam Shah, Qutub Shah, Ali Adil Shah, and Ali Barid launched a coordinated attack on the Vijayanagara army. Raya also made every effort to boost the morale of his soldiers. He exclaimed, "We are not cowards as to be afraid of this small battle. Move forward and fight." To inspire his troops further, he piled up a large heap of precious jewels and gold coins and announced that those soldiers who displayed exceptional valor would be rewarded with these treasures and wealth, along with royal honors. This proclamation worked wonders, rekindling the soldiers' weakened self-confidence, and the Vijayanagara army fought with renewed vigor and determination. In no time, they launched such a fierce attack that a part of the massive Bahmani army was forced to retreat. This was the time when a game of betrayal began to play out. Muslim soldiers in Raja Ramaraya's army either fled or refused to fight on the side of the Hindu army and went over to the enemy's camp. It is said that it was the influence of Raja Ramaraya's trusted commanders, the Gilani brothers, that led these soldiers to act in such a way. When the battle was at its climax, a low-ranking officer from the Bahmani army named Rumi Khan fired 2 cannons at the Vijayanagara forces, causing significant damage and scattering the soldiers. He then mounted his elephant and charged at Ramaraya's elephant. In the ensuing skirmish, Ramaraya's bodyguard was killed, and the 90-year-old ruler of the Vijayanagara Empire was wounded and fell off his palanquin that was lodged on the back of his elephant. Rumi Khan then had Ramaraya lifted by the trunk of his elephant and presented him before Nizam Shah. The Sultan, in a bid to humiliate Ramaraya, offered him a seat and mocked, "Is everything all right?" But Ramaraya didn't utter a word. He merely lightly touched his forehead as if implying that fate had brought him to this point. It is said that Hussain Nizam Shah then cut off Ramaraya's head with his own hand. Ramaraya's head was then affixed at the tip of a spear and paraded outside. And then the massacre began. Unlike any other, an area spanning about 20 miles was littered with dead bodies. And the earth turned red. The rout of the Vijayanagara army was complete. It took some time for the news of this terrifying defeat to reach Vijayanagara. When the people found out that Ramaraya had been martyred, their only option was to bury their treasures, arm the younger men, and wait for what was to come. The following day, the city was plundered by local robbers and jungle dwellers. The third day saw the beginning of the end. Now they had reached the capital. And from that time onwards, for a space of 5 months, looting, plundering, and destruction of Vijayanagara never stopped. The enemy pursued their objective of destruction relentlessly. The invaders spared nothing. They broke the famous Narasimha statue, breaking its limbs, the hall where the king sat, the royal palace, and the surroundings of Vithala temple, which was one of the magnificent monuments of Hampi. Everything was reduced to rubble. The attack of the king's royal residence was so ruthless that today only a few stones and pillars remain, and everything else was reduced to dust. Using crowbars and rods, they continued their destructive rampage day after day, setting fire to the magnificent buildings and temples to reduce Hampi to ruins. The destruction of the great city was a catastrophic event, unparalleled in history. A prosperous city with a thriving population was pillaged and left in ruins amidst brutal violence and massacre. A poet expresses his pain in a poem called Hampi through these lines. जाने अनजाने ये पत्थर किसी समय में रुके हुए हैं, अरसों बरसों की धूप से अनुभव पाकर सिके हुए हैं, जाने कब से रुके हुए हैं, जाने कब से रुके हुए हैं।